So, if the tapestry is shredded and money isn't the answer, let's talk about other attempts to right the ship and even address some of those apparent wins that we find in the media sometimes. So, the ballot box and the judicial system are two paths many want to believe in for restoration of freedoms in American society. If only the right person runs and wins office, if only the right party controls the House and Senate and or the presidency, that party will put checks on themselves as government and start protecting rights and liberties. But our two-party system feeds the political polarization and sets up the reality of democracy and all the desperation that comes with it. And thus, relying on elections to restore society is akin to asking a tyrant to abdicate his throne. Now, since writing this, I have seen quite a good argument for if you want to go with the democratic solution or the political solution, and you are ready to invest a lot of time and money, I have seen a good argument for choosing to primary a sitting national official. This would require you to belong to one of the two major national parties and then get enough signatures to get you on the ballot for your state, and then enough money to launch a marketing campaign, and enough time to run that campaign and to protect your reputation. And that is the trouble with this idea, right? Because you know you're going to lose. You're going to sacrifice your entire life, a lot of money, a lot of time, and you know you're going to lose. So maybe instead you could support someone else whom you believe would actually make a difference. And really, even if you or the person you support don't actually win the primary, it is a start at least. I mean, if no one ever primaries the incumbent or the heir apparent challenger chosen by the national and state parties, then do we really have a choice at the ballot box? Do Republicans have a choice? Do Democrats have a choice? And if there really isn't any choice, is there really freedom in our election system? So don't forget, though, that political parties are private entities and have their own rules. So even this little act of rebellion would be quite difficult. But there are even districts where the candidate runs unopposed by the other party. And in those cases, do the constituents really have a choice? So this is a good argument to increase freedom at the election level, but we have to understand, and even if we know our guy is going to lose, it at least brings to the attention of the incumbent or heir apparent challenger that their plans, their agendas are not going to be unchallenged by the people themselves. That there are enough people who disagree with their brand of party politics that they should at least be questioning them themselves. But even if, miracle of miracles, the challenger ends up winning the office or the primary and then winning the office, the system is still rigged to work against people who don't know how to use it. And the principled person is more likely to cave to the requirements within the system they have no experience over. And once again, as my very first political science professor said, my freshman year of college, which was not just recently, you can't go swimming in a cesspool and expect not to come out stinking yourself. So just think about that. Just to nail it home, politics, as usual, is very unlikely to help repair the foundational fabric of our country. Many see the current U.S. Supreme Court as conservative-leaning and then point to recent decisions and say the judicial system might be the way to reverse course. They may at least prevent more unraveling and maybe even allow some of the threads to be woven back together. But although it appears some judicial decisions are slowing down the march toward an administrative state and reaffirming that human life is again being valued and states' rights and the constitutional framework are being honored, such decisions do not serve to weave all the threads back into a beautiful tapestry in the minds and hearts of the American people. It doesn't solve the problem of the constant narrative running through social media, legacy media, and out of government officials' mouths. It doesn't restore trust in the election system. It doesn't restore trust in the educational system either. It doesn't even restore trust in the judicial system. And with the lower courts now fueling distrust in the judicial system as a whole, with the two-tiered justice, unprecedented political prosecutions, and the like, it is actually more likely that any and all legitimacy the courts in the United States still have will be eroded completely. Even so, in the meantime, it doesn't solve the problem of the constant narrative running through social media, legacy media, and out of our government officials' mouths. In fact, these apparent wins for American culture are used to fuel the division, increase polarization, legitimize free choices that continue to devalue human life, truth, natural law, and enslave through fear. Plus, the Supreme Court has no authority to enforce its decisions. That responsibility is in the hands of executives and agencies, and to a lesser degree, Congress. The agencies are full of career bureaucrats in favor of an administrative state, and many Americans don't trust them anymore anyway, and current events do nothing to instill any more trust in them at the moment. And Congress has abdicated its responsibility, yet we continue to hand more and more power over to those who have promised solutions to the problems they created. Presidents claim victory and tout accomplishments, but the integrity of society continues to degrade. Then there is the concept of a parallel society. If ubiquitous social media platforms are really propaganda machines, if the legacy media all spouts lies and shills for their preferred political party or candidate, if movies and music glorify evil and twist truth, if newspapers write opinions or report on reactions to celebrities' comments and behavior, if television shows infiltrate the American mind with the new values they wish would replace those of the old generation, then why not create new social media platforms that cater to the other side? Why not create new music labels and new movie studios that glorify good and produce positive messaging? Why not write new television shows celebrating life and constitutionalism? Why not start newspapers that focus on news and truth instead of trends? These are not bad ideas in and of themselves, and speak of a hope that is not yet dead. And there are those who desire a place to escape the evils of society, a respite for their minds and hearts, an entertainment outlet that won't turn their children against them, a place to be informed and not lectured to. But such a parallel society exists in a paradox. They expect the same framework producing the problem to be able to also support and produce the solution. These parallel elements also take money to create and sustain, and they are fighting giants from a position of weakness and in the face of constant jeers from the opposing army. The people whose minds need to be changed will never join, will never tune in, will never watch or read content designed for the sensibilities of their enemy. Not only with those whose minds need to be changed not engage with an open mind, they go in believing it all to be lies anyway, but often they are prevented or discouraged from engaging at all in the first place. Welcome to the paywall. Whereas the society destroying messages are free and ubiquitous, the alternative messaging is available only by paying a fee. And although the alternate sources are growing, each and every single one of them require a separate fee, and thus the alternative messaging will never achieve the ubiquity required to passively infiltrate and silently grow on the consciences of Americans. More than that, those of us who are exhausted fighting the tides by ourselves are constantly approached to support a movement, an outlet, a campaign, a foundation, an organization with money. Money that is in ever more short supply. And the limits of the positive effects of money have already been discussed. And yes, these elements are attempting to exist in the same framework that, in parallel, is and has been destroying society. On the one hand, the parallel elements repair nothing of import as they become their own echo chamber in parallel with the other echo chamber, and the rest of society is not affected or benefited at all. It is a voluntary opt-in. But more than that, if it were to be a truly parallel society within which to live out an alternate worldview, it fails to go far enough. What about schools and universities dedicated to freedom and universal truths and values? What about doctors and hospitals free from the control of pharmaceutical companies and government overreach? What about communications and transportation regulation and oversight? What about businesses and marketing firms dedicated to principled liberty? Again, the problem is ubiquity of message. The destructive side has it. Meanwhile, those who seem to want to repair the destruction cannot even coalesce around a plan to do so, yet are trying to survive as delicate flora planted in unprepared and dry soil where the weeds already thrive.